Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 275 based on novel. So let's start. In Liuzang City and in the Liu family's residence, everyone looked at Xiao Yan, who slapped Fu Yulong out of the field. His eyes were full of horror and unimaginable. Now, Fu Yulong, as a strong Source King, could hardly find an opponent in the whole southwest border. It was incredible that he would be slapped by the young man in front of him. Of course, others don't know. At this time, Fu Yulong and Liu Wei are very clear in their hearts. The young man in black is now a famous figure in the southern region. It is said that he killed the head of one scorpion sect by his own strength in the two wars not long ago, and even seriously injured a strong person of Yuanzhong. In particular, Fu Yulong, a newcomer to the Source King, is comparable. He was struck by Xiao Yang and didn't die just now, which is lucky. How about killing? Beside Fu Yulong, the white birch glanced at Xiao Yang and said faintly. Hearing the speech, Xiao Yangang wanted to nod, but Fu Yulong quickly got up from the ground in horror, quickly bowed to Xiao Yang and apologized. His voice said in a hurry, "Mr. Xiao Yang, the past is indeed Fu Yulong's fault. I shouldn't be an enemy with you. I shouldn't touch the people of the Liu family, and I shouldn't be with Tiangui Zong. But now I have reformed. What happened just now is just a misunderstanding. I didn't expect that the person Liu Wei said was you. Please don't worry about it. Just Xiao Wei, my lord, is willing to let me go. From now on, Fu Yulong will follow the lead of Lord Xiao and ask Lord Xiao to. Well, needless to say, I cannot count this matter, and I cannot kill you." Listening to this guy's endless words of redemption, Xiao Yang was really upset and didn't intend to kill him. If this guy goes on talking endlessly, it's really uncertain. Sure enough, Xiao Yang's words fell, and the guy immediately closed his mouth. The white birch on one side also glanced at the latter with disdain. At least he is a Source King. He is so spineless. He can really say anything in order to live. Hearing Xiao Yang's words, Fu Yulong finally relaxed his panic. As long as Xiao Yang didn't kill him, it's easy to say other things. As far as he is concerned, life is more important than everything. If his face is really so important, Fu Yulong won't listen to him when Tian Puppet Sect threatened him. "I can't kill you, but you have to do something for me." While Fu Yulong was secretly congratulating himself, Xiao Yang's words came again, which shocked the former's spirit and immediately bowed down. Xiao Yang didn't pay too much attention, but continued to speak and said, "From now on, Haiyun Palace will join my command to protect the Liu family in Qingyang City. If anything happens to the Liu family, if the Liu family makes a mistake, my subordinates are willing to make up for it with their lives." This time, Fu Yulong did not wait to hear the words of Xiao Yang's mouth falling down. He was not satisfied with his choice. His life was all held in Xiaoyan's hands. He has the final say in his wish. Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang was stunned and immediately smiled with satisfaction. This guy did things simply and recognized the identity between the two. In this way, from now on, maybe he doesn't have to worry about the Liu family. It's a big deal. When he returns, he will talk to the Burning Father again, and there will be no more mistakes. It's safe here in the southern region. Remember your words, once the Liu family makes a mistake, be careful of your life. Once Xiao Yang's slightly cold words were spit out, Fu Yulong's face immediately changed again, and he quickly nodded respectfully. However, immediately, the former turned his voice and said with a smile, "Of course, if I behave properly, I will naturally bear it in mind. I will refine some pills for you in the future. Although I dare not say more, it should not be a problem if I want to be promoted to the realm of Yuan Huang." Hearing the word Yuan Huang, Fu Yulong's heart moved and his eyes couldn't help but flash a surprise. At his age, it was his greatest extravagant hope that his cultivation could break through the Source King. Now this power was hard won. He didn't want to pursue a higher realm, but when he heard Xiao Yang's words, his heart immediately surged up again. At present, he dared not hesitate anymore. He hurriedly said yes to Xiao Yangong. "Well, that's all for today. I have something to do. As for here, I don't need to say more." Looking at Fu Yulong, Xiao Yang slowly tunnel. Subordinates understand. Hearing the speech, Fu Yulong immediately replied respectfully. Nodded, Xiao Yang looked at Liu Ya, smiled and said, "In that case, then, old sir, I'll see you next time." With a smile, Liu Ya bowed and hugged. Now Xiao Yang seems to have grown up enough to let them look up. How can he think that the young man whose cultivation was not far from that of him 3 years ago grew up to such a place 3 years later, even affecting the situation of the whole southern region? Later, Xiao Yang explained to Fu Yulong. After the latter carefully wrote it down, Xiao Yang moved, turned into a dark shadow and swept into the sky again. Later, Xiao Yishen and others followed suit. In a twinkling of an eye, the pedestrian disappeared in front of them again. In situ, Liu Ya and Fu Yulong stared at Xiao Yang's leaving figure, sighed after all, looked at each other indifferently, followed closely, and Fu Yulong quickly left here with his men. When Xiao Yang and others set foot on the way back to the western regions, in the distant void of the north, outside a cave, at this moment, a human shadow is standing. Suddenly, the void behind him suddenly twisted. Immediately, an old man in a golden robe appeared behind him. When the old man appeared, the figure in front of him was immediately found. Even when he turned around, he saluted the old man respectfully. "Patriarch." "Well, Dragon Scale, how long has the little guy entered the dragon cave?" Hearing the speech, the old man nodded gently, and immediately his deep eyes fell on the cave in front of him. He could really notice that there was a young figure sitting in the depths of the cave, which would be his greatest expectation. "Hui leader, he has been in for 2 years. "Oh, 2 years. So, the little guy has made great progress in the dragon cave." Listening to what the person in front of him said, the old man couldn't help feeling surprised in his deep eyes. In 2 years, he crossed 2 levels, which was much more than he had expected. Western regions, Lungsue City. There was a golden light shining on the huge square. The people present immediately looked away. When they looked again, several people appeared on the square at the moment. This was Xiao Yang and his party. After Liu Tsangcheng, Xiao Yang and his party did not stop any longer on the way. They came to Lungsue City. Looking at the vaguely familiar streets in front of them, Xiao Yang seemed to recall all kinds of things in his mind, but over time, things are right and people are wrong, and earth-shaking changes have taken place in the western region. In today's western regions, the cold and arrogant beauty in Shilin mountain range is the real hegemonic force. Secondly, LV Zhongtian in Shahepu and the White family in Qingtu Ocean, which has flourished in recent years, have established their own forces. Shilin mountain range is still unfamiliar with world affairs, and there are still countless strong human beings who have experienced in it, but no more than before, deep in the Shilin mountains, it will be a Jedi that everyone deeply understands. Secondly, it is the Shahepu area where LV Zhongtian is located. The latter is famous for setting up an auction house. It also has a high position in the Shilin area. In addition, LV Zhongtian's strong cultivation has made his place particularly stable. In addition, it is the White House that almost everyone has never thought of. Most people in 11 Linyu knew that the Bai family used to be one of the 4 big families under the Tianjian sect, but after the collapse of the 4 major sects, the other 3 were destroyed overnight. Later, the Bai family took over all the urban interests and mineral veins under the 4 major sects, but soon, the Bai family resolutely abandoned most of the cities and some mineral veins. After quickly gathering interests, he almost entrenched in the area of Qingtuo Mountain and rarely appeared again. The Bai family made a quick and decisive move, gathered most of the interests in the shortest time, and then withdrew to Qingtuo Mountain, which also made many people understand the reasons why the 3 families were destroyed. After that, some forces even united to find the Bai family. However, after the Bai family took out the 2 strong forces in the source territory, all the forces that went were destroyed, and they were not even given a chance to surrender. Therefore, the name of the Bai family quickly spread in Shilin region, but even so, they still entrenched near Qingtuo Mountain and didn't seem to want to expand the family power, which made many forces in Shilin region suspicious. Outsiders don't understand this, but the hearts of the Bai family are very clear that they don't want to expand their own power. Everyone knows that only with huge resources can the family power grow rapidly. How could he not have such an idea? But in fact, they can't do so. The Bai family doesn't want to be the second Qin Huangmi Valley. For them, the cold frost in Shilin Mountain is not the most terrible. The most terrible thing is the man standing behind the cold frost. Beyond the vast mountains, on the edge of the sky, there was a slight sound of breaking the sky. Immediately, several streamers suddenly flashed and came, bringing bursts of sonic booms. At the same time, they appeared over the mountains in the blink of an eye. Then their body suddenly turned into several human figures. Looking at the familiar mountains in front of him, Xiao Yan was slightly stunned. Such a scene made him feel at home for a moment. Compared with all kinds of disturbances outside, it seemed much cleaner here. Especially now when he thought of cold and frost, Xiao Yan would unconsciously show a smile on his face, then raise his hand and take several people behind him, flying towards the depths of the Shilin Mountains. While this group of people swept into the deep mountains, a figure dressed in white robes on a mountain also flew out quickly. With a little hesitation, they flew away quickly in a certain direction. Heh! Xiao Yang frowned slightly during the flight, and was suspicious in his heart. Even if he ignored it, he quickly went to the depths of the mountains. Soon, several familiar figures appeared in front of Xiao Yang and others one after another. The most important thing is that the frost beauty who devotes herself to cultivation in ordinary days also appeared in front of Xiao Yang at this moment. Looking at Xiao Yang, who is intact in front of her, she can't help moving her cold face. She naturally understands the dangers of the extreme south, but it has been 3 years since Xiao Yang left. Now when she sees Xiao Yang coming back, the bottom of her heart is still affected. A pair of beautiful eyes can't help but contain a look of resentment. It's Xiao Yang. He stepped forward and took the latter into his arms, ignoring the struggle of the beauty in his arms. His solid arms tightly locked the latter's delicate body, his mouth close to the delicate ear, and said gently, "Sorry, I'm back." In a simple sentence, it seemed to contain some magic, which made the delicate body struggling with cold frost slowly relax. Then, the little doctor looked at the two people in front of him, but a certain look was gradually dim. Even if he turned his head silently and ignored it. When acquaintances meet, they should be chatting with each other. Bai Hua and Narwhal Snake are familiar with each other. Seer met Liana, but the latter was still sleeping at that time. Now, they are familiar with each other. In addition, the two women are peers among the people, so they can talk more freely. Li Bingrui quickly melted into each other because of Liana, only the little doctor fairy sat alone for a long time. When the 3 women came back, the latter had disappeared. In Tianying's cave, 5 people are sitting around a table with drinks on the table. The atmosphere is strong and the people are talking happily. In the mountains and forests, Kia took her 2 daughters to a hut built by Yang Shu and others. The little girl is the eldest lady in the Shilin Mountains. With the love of cold and frost, their brothers are spoiled everywhere on weekdays. Everything here is also the demand of the girl. Although the shape of the house is not good, the surrounding environment is quite suitable for the 3 women. In such a beautiful environment, the 3 talked happily. Xiao Yang and Lung Bingshuang came to the hinterland of Shilin, which has already changed greatly. The magnificent ice palace was established and filled with cold fog, turning it into a fairyland on earth. The cold ice took Xiao Yang to the depths of the ice palace. Xiao Yang pulled the latter's delicate body into his arms with a gentle pull. They looked at each other, and their breathing was gradually rapid and hot. On a deserted mountain peak, the little medical fairy in a long white dress was sitting alone. A pair of long and narrow eyes looked at the open sky in the distance. There were a pair of white birds circling in the sky, like consolation or ridicule. For this, the little medical fairy had to laugh foolishly. The crystal tears in the corners of her eyes fell, and her mind recalled what Xiao Yang said when she saved her. "You are my responsibility." The next day, deep in the Shilin Mountains, Xiao Yang called the people together again for the purpose of discussing the formal establishment of the Xiao Gate in the western regions. Before that, Xiao Yang established the Xiao Men in the northern regions, but Xiao Yang was not familiar with the northern regions. Now the Xiao Men in the northern regions are completely entrusted to the high nationality. Now Xiao Yang plans to officially establish the Xiao Men in the western regions. At that time, after the Xiao Men in the western and northern regions have been developed, they will be formally merged. In addition, there is the burning Yang Valley in the southern regions as an ally. In this way, the west of the mainland can quickly fall under the command of Xiao Men, which is undoubtedly of great benefit to Xiao Yang's future development. After a general explanation, everyone here is quite eager to try. Who doesn't dream of becoming a giant and powerful in the future, but it's too far away for them in the past. However, now, Xiao Yang puts this opportunity in front of them. The establishment of Xiao Men will establish a huge image in the western regions. The rise of this transcendent force will make countless people admire it. When the western and northern regions are combined in the future, it will make Xiao Men more huge, and at that time, they will become the strong ones in the eyes of countless people. Xiao Yang couldn't help laughing when he saw the look of longing on the faces of all present. The establishment of Xiao Men will not only become the guarantee of Lung Bingshuang and others, but also become the biggest help behind him. In this way, he can go to the central region at ease. However, Xiao Yang didn't tell everyone here about his going to the central region, especially Lung Bingshuang. He didn't want the latter to worry about him, and he didn't want Lung Bingshuang to do anything impulsive for him. After all, Xiao Yang didn't count on taking her to the central region this time. After that, Xiao Yang explained in detail about the Ghost Hall to everyone here. Most of you here know about this mysterious force. After all, the people of the Ghost Hall also intervened in the decisive battle with Qin Huangmi Valley. They still remember the impression of that war. But then, when Xiao Yang told them about his experience in the extreme south, the expressions on their faces changed again, especially the cold frost, and a thick color of worry appeared on their beautiful cheeks. Even though Xiao Yang was still beside her at the moment, once they heard that the real strong man in the Ghost Hall had personally shot Xiao Yang, even when she almost grabbed it back, her heart could not help tightening up until a long time later. Xiao Yang's words sounded insipid, but everyone here could feel a strong, dangerous atmosphere. At the end of the war, if it hadn't been for the action of the mysterious strong man, I'm afraid they wouldn't see Xiao Yang at the moment. After knowing the danger of the Ghost Hall, especially that the object they are targeting is Xiao Yang, everyone here also shows a look of disgust. They have a very bad impression of those guys who are neither human nor ghost. Now they pay more attention to Xiao Yang, and their faces will not look good. A group of non-human and non-ghost things dare to make an idea on the leader of Xiao Men. If they meet in the future, they must return it more. The burning lion scolded angrily. In his words, he had put himself in the position of the person of Xiao Men. This attracted a burst of laughter from others, but the only thing that remained unchanged was the fierce look in everyone's eyes. In that case, let's add the first firewood to the establishment of Xiao Men, the Sky Eagle said faintly, glanced at the others here, and everyone nodded one by one. Soon, their eyes fell on Xiao Yang. Then they got up and bowed to Xiao Yang and said, "Subordinates, I've seen sect leader Xiao." After the discussion, Xiao Yang smiled at the people and finished the next plan. Now, in addition to raising strong people, the most important thing is natural resources. The establishment of a power naturally needs huge resources as support. As a superpower about to rise in the western regions, the resources needed by Xiao Men naturally reach a level unimaginable to ordinary people, at least far beyond the original Qin Huangmi Valley. Of course, with Xiao Yang's means, it is not difficult to get resources. Especially now, while his cultivation has broken through the Source Emperor, his own soul power has also been broken through. From a certain point of view, Xiao Yang has become a 6th-level herbalist. Such an identity is naturally unmatched in the western regions. In addition, there are many pills that were once taken from his opponents in his Nanaji ring. If these pills were auctioned, they should also be able to get a lot of resources. Tianying also recommended them. Naturally, it is LV Zhongtian. That guy is famous for opening an auction shop. He was once rescued by Xiao Yang. Now he comes to help with the auction. Naturally, it is no longer appropriate. Resources can be solved for the time being, but another big trouble is they need to summon a lot of strong people. Since the end of the First World War between them and Qin Huangmi Valley, the strong people brought from the northern regions have returned. In the western regions, it is really difficult for Xiao Yang to summon strong people again. If he has to find them, he may have to use some means. Thinking of this, Xiao Yang couldn't help thinking of the man he noticed when they came to Shaolin mountain range the day before yesterday. If I remember correctly, the guy's dress seems to be Bai Jiao. He whispered a word in his mouth. When he looked up, Xiao Yang just saw the little medical fairy opposite. When his eyes turned, a jade pendant hung on the snow-white neck of the little medical fairy made his eyebrows pick. He remembered that the jade pendant seemed to belong to Liana originally. When he first saved Enea, she gave it to herself. After Liana woke up, Xiao Yang gave it back to her when she burned Yengu. Just at this moment, it seems that Liana gave it to her master instead. As soon as he thought of this, Xiao Yang couldn't help chuckling and revealing a warm smile. This scene looked at the little doctor fairy opposite, his face moved slightly on his cheek, and a bright light flashed in the depths of his beautiful eyes. However, what Xiao Yang doesn't know is that the jade pendant was handed over by Liana this morning to comfort the little medical fairy with a very bad face. In Xiao Yang's memory, this jade pendant is all Xiao Yang has. Western regions, Qingtuo Mountain. Today, Qingtuo Mountain has become the base camp of the Bai family. In the past, the place where the 4 main gates were stationed has also become a place for the life experience of the Bai family's children, especially on the main peak of Qingtuo Mountain, where the Bai family's top leaders live. A family's control over a continuous mountain range is not only a kind of pride, but also a symbol that they will control endless resources. This is naturally an enviable thing, but no one will dare to challenge. At this moment, on the main peak of Qingtuo Mountain, in a magnificent hall, Bai Ying and his son are sitting in the middle with frowned brows and hesitation in their hearts. They have just received the news that they seem to have seen Xiao Yang outside the Shaolin Mountains, which is not a good thing for them. Alas, that guy made a storm in the western regions when he came back last time. I don't know what will happen when he comes back this time. Father, otherwise, we went to negotiate and expressed our sincerity first. On one side, Bai Zhong hesitated and said slowly, "Hehe, are you so worried about me coming back?" However, at the moment when his words fell, the clear laughter suddenly sounded in the hall, and the faces of the White family and their son also changed sharply. Almost at the same time, an old man in white robes also appeared next to the White family and their son. The old face looked dignified and looked at the young man in black who slowly appeared in the hall. Although there was no breath in the black-robed youth in front of him, he could still feel a vague threat from the latter. From this point alone, the old man could be sure that the cultivation of the person in front of him must be much better than him. In this way, how can he not feel dignified? He can be sure that the black-robed youth in front of him is definitely the most powerful person he has ever seen in his life. In the middle of the hall, Xiao Yang looked at the 3 people in front of him with a smile. There was a fine flash in a pair of dark eyes. If he had only guessed before, at the moment, he could be sure that the figure in white robe he saw outside the Shaolin Mountains was indeed a member of the White family. Xiao Yang. Bai Ying's father and son looked at Xiao Yang, who suddenly appeared in the hall in horror. The mood in their heart was tense for a moment. Instead, the white-robed old man in front of them looked at the 2 people behind them from the corner of his eyes. He couldn't help sighing, which could make the father and son who couldn't move in the ordinary days show such a look in the twinkling of an eye. Xiao Yang is really a terrible guy. Soon, the old man looked at Xiao Yang with a dignified face and a cautious mind. While the source of qi in his body turned quietly, he bowed his hands respectfully at Xiao Yang and said, "Bai Jiao, Bai Haoshuan, have you met Mr. Xiao Yang?" Looking at the black-robed youth in front of him, Bai Haoshuan couldn't help feeling a burst of sigh. He thought that the black-robed youth who was as weak as a mole ant in front of him had become an existence that even he had to look up to. It can be said that it has been 30 years east of the river and 30 years west of the river. Seeing the old man like this, Bai Ying and his son behind him hurried back to God, got up together and saluted Xiao Yang respectfully. Even the old ancestor of his family had to be respectful when he saw Xiao Yang, not to mention them. Seeing this, Xiao Yang nodded lightly and glanced at Bai Haoshuan. He was surprised. After years of hard cultivation and the help of a lot of resources, the cultivation of the old man of the Bai family has also broken through the realm of the Source King. Even compared with cold frost, such cultivation is not much different. Now, Bai Ying and his son have reached the source of their cultivation. Looking at the whole western region, they can be called the top ranks. I wonder why Mr. Xiao Yang came to my White House this time? Bai Haoshuan stared at Xiao Yang in front of him and slowly tunnel. Nothing. I just see that the Bai family seems to care about whether I can come back. Since I'm back, I think I should visit. As soon as this remark came out, the faces of the two people behind Bai Haoshuan suddenly changed. In this way, Xiao Yang already knew that they had sent someone to wait outside the Shalin Mountains. At present, the father and son suddenly felt a tight heart. Did Xiao Yang come here today to ask for a teacher's guilt? With this in mind, the source qi in the cyclone in Bai Ying's father and son immediately raised, and Bai Haoshuan's face gradually became low. For this, Xiao Yang smiled and then said, "Don't be nervous. I'm not here to ask for guilt, but I want to invite you. Of course, you can also take it as a threat." Invitation? Hearing what Xiao Yang said, the three members of the Bai family could not help but show suspicious color. Immediately, Xiao Yang said, "I will establish a force in the western regions, Xiaomen. The purpose of my coming here today is to invite you to join my Xiaomen. Of course, I know this news may be too abrupt for you, so I'll wait for your news in half a month. If you like, please come to Yangcheng. If you don't want to." At the end of the painting, Xiao Yang smiled, but no longer said much. Instead, he looked at the three people in front of him with a pondering smile. Until they were all turned blue by his words, he smiled a few times. Then he turned his body and wanted to leave, but he seemed to think of something. He turned his head and spoke again, saying, "By the way, I don't want to say much about monitoring Shalin Mountains. My friends and I don't like the feeling of being monitored, so I hope I won't see such things again in the future." As soon as they said this, their hearts suddenly sank, their breathing suddenly became tight, and their forehead was quickly covered with sweat until they saw Xiao Yang turn and leave. The panic at the bottom of their hearts gradually calmed down. Until Xiao Yang left for a long time, the three people in the hall slowly recovered. Xiao Yang's words echoed in his brain, and he gradually felt a pressure in his heart. Xiao Men. Xiao Yang is going to dominate the western regions, the old man said slowly. His deep old eyes stared at the lights on the candlestick on one side, and his heart was mixed. At the beginning, Qin Huangmi Valley was destroyed by Xiao Yang. Bai Ying predicted that Xiao Yang's power would become another behemoth in the western regions, and they would also be threatened. This is the reason why these doors have been monitoring Shalin Mountains. However, now, when Xiao Yang returns again, what he said has left them no room to refute. After leaving Qingtuo Mountain, Xiao Yang walked all the way west and soon came to Yangcheng. When she came to this familiar city again, a beautiful woman, Jin Yao, immediately appeared in Xiao Yang's mind. I think I also got a lot of treasures from her at the beginning, especially the 1,000-fan tree, which is still alive in his ring. If I didn't expect that my ancestors would have such a relationship with the ancestor of Burning Valley at the beginning, the 1,000-fan tree is his first choice in exchange for geocentric body milk. Despite all that, Xiao Yang is also very fond of Jin Yao. Now, with the woman's intelligence, she should have a good life in this burning city. When I came to the 1,000 medicine workshop again, I really changed my appearance. Not only did the scale expand a lot, but also the cultivation of the bodyguard who is now guarding the gate has reached the level of fighting emperor. Seeing this scene, Xiao Yang frowned and looked up. The three characters of Chenyaro Square were striking. He did not go wrong, but the two bodyguards were obviously not from here. When he was suspicious, Xiao Yang continued to step forward. Just when he came to the door, the two bodyguards suddenly started and stopped Xiao Yang step by step. "Go away, don't you see the Sheng family here? The 1,000 medicine workshop doesn't receive any guests today." At the same time, the two middle-aged men pushed Xiao Yang's shoulder with their palms together. Xiao Yang frowned, but there was no pause in his steps. They let each other's palms fall on their shoulders without stopping. The two bodyguards suddenly felt a terrible momentum when their palms touched Xiao Yang's body, their bodies were blown out directly. At the same time, Xiao Yang's soul power spread out, and all the situations in the Thousand Medicine Workshop fell into Xiao Yang's mind. At this moment, in a closed room in the Thousand Medicine Workshop, a man and a woman were among them, and the woman was undoubtedly Jin Yao. However, at this time, the latter's red dress was almost broken, and most of the spring light was exposed in the air. Her beautiful cheeks were full of fear, and tears kept falling from the corners of her eyes, but everything had turned into a desperate situation. At this time, Jin Yao, under the teasing of the man in front of her, even died, may have become a kind of extravagant hope. At the moment, opposite Jin Yao, a rich boy dressed in brocade was staring at Jin Yao with an obscene smile, looking at each other's snow-white and plump body, couldn't help licking his lips, and then rushed towards the woman opposite again. Outside the door, several guards looked at the situation in the house through the crack of the door. Their faces were also obscene, but, at this time, a cold killing intention made their smiles gradually converge until they turned into panic. Ha ha, Jin Yao, how much manpower and material have I spent for you, and you dare to ignore me? Today, I will take you anyway. I want you to know what it means to live without dying. As a traitor's laughter fell, the man's body pounced on Jin Yao again, and his fighting spirit was attached between his hands. He pushed Jin Yao down on the bed. Despite the latter's crazy struggle, he still couldn't escape the man's control. Seeing the man's crazy behavior, Jin Yao was devastated. At this moment, she really wanted to kill herself, but the cyclone in her body was directly blocked by the man in front of her, and any suicide would be blocked by him. At present, I'm afraid she can only let the mermaid meet. However, at this time, bang! A distance explosion came from behind. The closed door was knocked open by Shengsheng. Several figures were knocked into the house by an invisible force. In the twinkling of an eye, they lost their voice. The young man in front of the bed was also startled by the sudden accident and stepped back a few steps, so Jin Yao had a chance to breathe for a moment. At this time, several bodyguards who had fallen to the ground and lost their vitality immediately looked frightened on the man's face. He quickly turned his head and looked. A figure whose face could not be seen clearly stepped into the house slowly under the sunshine. The light disappeared and revealed a handsome face. The young man in front of him and Jin Yao, who was curled up on the bed at the moment, were stunned for a time. Naturally, the man did not expect that a hairy boy could kill the bodyguard he brought so easily, even unharmed. Jin Yao was shocked that he would show up in time at the time of her crisis again, which could not help but make the latter's heart swing slightly. Damn it, the hairy boy who came out of nowhere dares to disturb me. I don't know if I'm from the Sheng family. Dare to disturb my yaxing. Be careful that I'll make you feel overwhelmed. Although the black-robed man in front of him looks good, the young man is also confident that his Sheng family is not easy to provoke. In the area of Yangcheng, his Sheng family is undoubtedly the overlord. However, Xiao Yang didn't listen to the threatening words of the youth. As soon as he turned his eyes, he fell on Jin Yao, who was curled up on the bed at the moment. He opened his mouth slightly. Even if he walked forward slowly and held his palm at will, he condensed the source gas into a black robe and covered it on Jin Yao's exposed body. Then he turned his head and looked at the young man. Seeing that Xiao Yang dared to turn a blind eye to himself, the young man's face suddenly turned iron blue. His anger soared in his heart. The fighting spirit in his palm condensed, and he hit Xiao Yang hard. Bang! However, when the fist hit Xiao Yang, the power erupted from the fist was returned to him exponentially, and one blow blew his body out. Until now, the young man realized the horror of the black-robed youth in front of him. You! Who the hell are you? Xiao Yang ignored the trembling voice of the young man, walked forward slowly, raised his palm slowly, opened his 5 fingers, and the color of panic on the young man's face became stronger and stronger. He immediately shouted, "What do you want to do? You can't kill me. My grandfather is Shengjia Shengdong. You can't kill me." Unfortunately, as the young man shouted out, his body was swallowed into the endless void. After killing the young man, Xiao Yang's indifference slowly returned. He turned around and looked back at Jin Yao, who was still curled up on the bed. Before he came to the bed, he stretched out his hand and gently pulled Jin Yao's black robe up, saying softly, "Let you suffer." As soon as this remark came out, it was like pulling away the pillar of the embankment. The eyes filled with tears could not be stopped immediately. Jin Yaro's throat also gave a cry of grievance. Her soft and delicate body rushed into Xiao Yang's arms and cried loudly. Xiao Yang was also stunned by Jin Yaro's sudden move. He immediately turned around and hugged Jin Yaro's fragrant shoulder with one hand, allowing the latter to vent his emotions. At the same time, after the young man was killed by Xiao Yang, in a huge manor outside Yang City, the old man who was watching the fish in the pond suddenly changed his face. His dry palm quickly turned over, and a broken jade card appeared in the palm of his hand. This. Kaya. He. Looking at the completely broken jade plaque in the palm of his hand, the old man was suddenly shocked and angry. The majestic source gas in his body circulated wildly, and the calm water in the pond also set off a circle of waves. Who killed my Kaya? With a hoarse roar from the old man's mouth, powerful energy fluctuations swept out of the body. Everything in the courtyard was destroyed in the blink of an eye. Then, the old man's eyes instantly locked in a direction, which is where Yangcheng is. This morning, his grandson clearly took a group of strong people to Yangcheng. He knew what he was going to do. Is that the woman? As soon as he thought about this, the old man was even more angry. He turned his hand and put the broken jade card in his hand into the ring. When he looked up, he slowly vomited out the dark voice full of killing intention. Looking at the two middle-aged men dressed in bodyguards standing in front of the door, Xiao Yang couldn't help nodding. When he wanted to raise his feet and walk towards the square, his eyes suddenly stopped again. His eyes returned to the two bodyguards, and his eyes fell on their chest. There was a family emblem clearly embroidered with the word Sheng. Jin Yao. If I catch you, I will cramp you and tear you to pieces. At the moment when the words fell, the soles of the old man stamped heavily on the ground. While the earth burst under his feet, cracks quickly spread out, and the old man's body suddenly disappeared into the manor. In the 1000 medicine workshop, Xiao Yang killed the rest of the Sheng family. Then Xiao Yang and Jin Yaro in black came to the backyard of the 1000 medicine workshop. I heard you went to the southern region 3 years ago after the war with Qin Huangmi Valley. At this time, Jin Yaro has regained her mood, looked at Xiao Yang tenderly, and gently handed a cup of tea to the latter. Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang smiled and nodded, saying, I originally came from the southern region. There was something wrong with my friend there, so I rushed there, but now it has been solved. I also heard that you and the one in the Shaolin Mountains don't seem to have a general relationship. At this point, Jin Yaro looked at Xiao Yang's beautiful eyes and there was a flicker. The latter couldn't help laughing at his words, put the cup after drinking tea back on the table and said slowly, You mean Cold Frost? She's my wife now. As soon as this remark came out, Jin Yaro, who was pouring tea for Xiao Yang, suddenly moved. The smile on her beautiful cheek involuntarily converged for a few minutes. After her eyes flickered slightly, she continued to smile and pour tea for Xiao Yang. Are you coming back this time to take her away? Someone is coming. As soon as Jin Yaro's voice fell, Xiao Yang spit out such a sentence. While the former looked slightly stunned, the streamer suddenly fell from the sky and fell into the courtyard. An invisible energy immediately swept away with the dust and fog, but when they approached Xiao Yang, they separated themselves like hitting a wall. Jin Yao. In the dust and fog, a low and hoarse old man's voice came out slowly. It's not difficult to hear the cold killing meaning contained in that voice. Hearing the speech, Jin Yaro couldn't help frowning, but at this time, her heart was less afraid than before. The existence of Xiao Yang made Jin Yaro no longer have to fear anyone. The breeze swept through the courtyard, and the dust and fog were quickly washed away, revealing an old figure dressed in brocade robes. At this time, although the latter had already noticed the existence of Jin Yao, he was not busy with his hand, but put his cautious eyes on Xiao Yang who was facing him sideways at this time. Although the latter didn't do it, the old man could still vaguely realize that the man in black was not simple. Maybe it was this man who killed his grandson. Looking at the black-robed man who clearly killed people but calmly drank tea in front of him, the old man's inner anger was even worse. What gave him such confidence? Boy, did you kill my grandson? For a long time, the old man made a low and slow sound. If you are Sheng Dong, that's right. Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang didn't give any attention. He gently picked up the teacup in front of him and took a sip. His face looked indifferent. It's just the initial stage of returning to the source. Such cultivation is not worth facing up to. You. Seeing that the murderer was still so calm, Sheng Dong's old body was shaking uncontrollably, and the majestic energy in his body kept pouring out. In a pair of cloudy old eyes, the murderous anger was no longer restrained. The next moment, the old man's body flashed suddenly. With a white light passing by, the figure appeared in front of Xiao Yang in the blink of an eye. The 5 fingers of his right hand bent into claws and grabbed Xiao Yang's throat. At the same time, Xiao Yang's positive face also fell into Sheng Dong's eyes. At this moment, the pupil in Sheng Dong's eyes suddenly contracted, and the mood in his heart suddenly became frightened. How could it be? Bang! With a dull collision sound, Xiao Yang's left palm unexpectedly fell on the old man's chest. His palm shook slightly, and his face surged out like a volcanic eruption. A blow blew Sheng Dong out in front of him. When Sheng Dong's body fell to the ground and was in a panic, he didn't have time to make any resistance. He quickly got up from the ground, knelt down to Xiao Yang with a frightened face, and said in a panic, "I don't know if it's Lord Xiao Yang who arrived. I'm stupid. I hope to beg for forgiveness." Not only Jin Yarrow, but also Xiao Yang was slightly surprised when he said this. I didn't expect the old man to recognize him and show such an attitude on the premise that his grandson was killed. It's really unusual. This video will end here.